but the buttons, like I have the you know that the two triggers at the front. I use the top one for player one, and I use the bottom one for player two because they both get detected on both sticks as the same. Does that make sense?
Oh, really? Okay. And
do you understand what I mean?
That's on the OUYA?
Yeah, that's on the OUYA when I'm running it on screen. So, in fact, you know what I should have checked? Well, I've only got one Xbox controller with me. So when I'm running it on my Mac, I've got my Xbox controller in, and all the keys, like, as you know, because you've bypassed all this in your code. All the keys are mapped differently on the Xbox controller as they are on the OUYA.
Yeah, that's why we have the mapping layer. Yeah,
which I'm completely ignoring, but not on purpose, just because it's ended up like that for me, and I'm trying to get everything ready for the next. I'm trying to get everything ready so I can demo this in a couple of weeks at GDC.
Oh, great!
But at the moment, I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing it. I'd love to demo it on the OUYA there.
Yeah.
But part of me is just really worried that the thing's going to break, because you tap it and the power cable falls out. But I'll see how it goes. But so my main concern is just that. Like I'm like the last update that I got a few, which is the one that I think you emailed.
Yeah, it's 0063.
Yep. Yeah. And okay. And so I'm using that to compile and everything.
Okay, good.
And it's great because it's like it sorts everything out. But I replaced I'm looking at the thing what it's called because I forget the OUYA in the plugins.
Okay.
OUYA Unity application Java file.
Yep.
I'm using the one that I used to use before because I couldn't compile. So I'm using an old one.
Oh, you couldn't compile. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm using an old one where it's OUYA Unity application extends Unity player activity, and then it cuts out all the stuff on create.
Yeah, you're bypassing the input system altogether.
It's not good, right? Is that not good?
It's an alternative. It's the first thing that I tried, but anytime I use the OUYA, or anytime I use the Unity player activity and the Unity native player activity, it was stealing the events. Like I wasn't. It didn't recognize the button presses for all controllers on all devices. So that's not just OUYA specific. It was I was testing on like 3 different Android tablets before I had it.
Right. Oh, right. I don't have any other Android stuff. I've only got an OUYA.
And so when I was testing, doing stuff as an activity and sticking the Unity player into the layout was the only way that I could get every button press and every...
Right.
And you're still getting the controller weird mapping thing? I would have to say that that's not my plugin at all, if that's still happening.
No, you reckon? Because if it's a hardware thing, I'm really happy with that because I'll just let it roll and it will fix itself.
Right.
But
I think it's an Android version thing.
The only issues I've got is that the buttons. Yeah, the buttons seem to be the same on both controllers, but the sticks are completely independent. And so,
that's when you've bypassed our Java input. You've gone.
That's right. Yeah, it's bypassed. Yeah. So
I didn't do that. I mean, that's why our Java input is always tagged with a player, so you know what controller it came from.
No, that's cool because this whole section, this whole Java section, is a bit of a mystery to me. So it's not something that I'm familiar with. It's not my world of like knowledge. So the fact that I just wanted to get it to a state where I had it working on the screen, and when I had it so this is a recent version, I thought, oh great, I'm just going to change it. I'm going to change it to do it with just using the full system which you put in there. And so I tried to convert it, but I used the demo scenes and compiled it, and my controllers weren't. I mean, I could see the data coming up with the controller scene, but it wasn't coming up the same. It wasn't coming up as it was supposed to, and so then I had like a minor panic, and went back to where I was. You see, as we do.
That sounds like an excellent place to start. Because I didn't really have an agenda today, other than like I've been doing some pretty cool Playmaker stuff, and then I was trying to get my stuff working on Linux. So that's not very exciting, but we could go into well, actually, it's pretty. I made some good video demos on kind of how to set up Playmaker and whatnot. But we could go into. We could just refresh the setup we have in the OUYA Unity application, and that might firm down with what I need to do for the JNI updates. Okay, so
That would be cool.
First thing, I should probably use my toolbox to sync.
Hey, one more question, yeah? What's this good drop? Can I get hold of good drop? I saw you using it last time. What the hell is that? It was like you would.
Yeah, here I'll post a couple links here.
Okay, cool.
I made a 15-second teaser video that's like, oh, look what you can do. Isn't it awesome? Email us to get a copy.
Okay, I'll have a look. I'll look at that in a minute.
So yeah, I was going to package that up and start sending emails.
Okay.
So that was only, I had like 4 devices plugged in, 4 different kinds of Android devices. And with one click, it just starts on all of them all at the same time. And like, then if I want to kill the game, it's hit the kill button and it's off on all of them. So it's like a really great way to publish to your devices.
Cool.
So right now it's enabled for local. And it'll have like remote setup.
I mean, because to be honest, I hadn't really done much Android development before. My background is in iOS, really.
Okay.
And you know where you stand with that, because you're always compiling to Xcode, and you can rummage around in there and get things working. But it's like Unity, it just seemed to be a bit of magic when it was appearing on the device, because I was like, well, what's going on? Is Unity doing something? Or, this is running through a lot of your stuff. So this stuff I was a bit...
Okay. All right.
Didn't really fully understand it.
Maybe I could talk about that a little bit. So,
cool.
So maybe I'll grab some water too. Let's see. And then I'll get into the whole spiel.
Cool.
All right. So, all right. So that iOS and the Xcode exporter publishing stuff, it's somewhat related to the Android publishing stuff. In that when you publish in Unity, it also publishes as like a similar process to export, and it builds this staging area within your primary project folder. And that's basically an Eclipse project, or an Android project that you can use in Eclipse. It wraps the Unity player.
Okay, so they make that kind of invisible in Unity then for Android, do they?
A little bit. I mean, you don't see it because it doesn't have to launch Xcode to publish, because it just uses ADB to publish to it and whatnot.
Okay.
And the difference with Android is all those files that are generated, and I guess it's probably the same in iOS. You have a chance to update what it publishes with. And so that's why we have this plugins Android folder, because that's basically the root of when it publishes to Android. It's generating all these files, and when you specify files in this folder, it basically overwrites the files that Unity was intending to generate.
Right.
So, like when it comes to when it comes to everything, basically, like your icon, the layout of your Unity, or the layout of your Android application, like some string values, the lib folder, all this stuff basically looks just like a Eclipse project.
Okay.
So definitely Android Manifest is the beginning. And then with the Android Manifest, and also using some other file, the main layout, with the manifest and the main layout, it makes it, with the package command, you're able to generate this R-Java file, which makes the layout accessible in your Java code.
Okay.
Now we generate the R-Java file when we click the compile plugin, and that's using the 2 to generate that R-Java file.
That's the magic that you've been doing for me over the past couple of months.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
At this point, I kind of need something to look at. And then I'm recording this in case anybody misses stuff, and then I'll just place the stuff together. Oh, line endings. How many times have you seen that line endings thing? It's like, oh, just go make everything DOS. Yeah. Okay, so here we are. Plugins, Android, source. This is where we store all the Java stuff. And this is where you have your plugin, which is the OUYA Unity plugin is how Unity communicates to Java. And OUYA Unity application is our main Java application, and this communicates back from Java to C#.
Okay.
So then you have your bundle identifier, which is this first package name. Well, hang on a second. I should have posted the link to our little users group here. They're trying to call me. Sorry, Arcady. There you go. It's like, where is everybody? Okay. So we have our package and our bundle identifier, and then that's where we get into all this custom code. So imports are like C# using statements. It gives us access to the various ODK and JSON encoding and Unity player things for sending messages across.
So what's this Unity player activity then that it's extending instead of activity? I mean, is that why is it bypass? Is the activity one more of just basically from Eclipse or something, and the Unity player is an interceptor of that or something? What's the function of that that class?
Well, these classes are just applied by Unity, and it's in your Unity application folder, and you can see the source for each one.
Really? Okay.
I just preferred, I did a lot of testing with multiple tablets, and it was stealing input from me, and in some cases it was not giving me access data that I needed to get. So I went with your standard activity, and then I shoved the Unity player into the layout.
Okay.
As something, and then so every activity has this onCreate kind of constructor thing. And one of the first things I do is to steal input away from Unity, which is set focus to my main layout. So I instantiate a Unity player in the view, and then I give focus to my layout, and then Unity doesn't get the focus. And that allows me to capture all the events in your standard key events, which are, scroll down here, And if you can't read this, I'll do an HD video later. I can also, let me size it up here.
I can see it pretty well.
Yeah. You'll be able to see it soon. Okay. So a lot of this is helper code. Okay. On key down, on key up, on generic motion event, on touch event, on trackball event. These are all like extend the activity, and that's where all the input comes in.
Those are all the ones that I've got edited out, isn't it?
Right.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So in your case, these are implemented by the Unity native player activity, and so Unity is handling that. In my case, I stole the input from Unity, and I'm giving it to Unity through my custom Java stuff. And here's where the inefficient stuff comes in, and this is exactly where the JNI optimization code is going to be. So I'm extracting, like, because every controller was different, I didn't know what the key codes would be for new controllers in advance. This is only meant to be a debug interface to quickly, like, define a new controller, figure out what the key codes are, and how they map to buttons and the access. That's all this stuff is. So that's why I extract all the information I can get, stuff it into a huge JSON structure, and pass that to Unity so I can stuff it in a log and see what's going on. In the end, like, all we really have to do at this point, when you get a motion event, just put what's necessary in here and send individual button events for whatever just happened. Because we don't need to send, when they push a key button, we don't have to send all the accesses. We just send the one button press. And then you'll get, like, this stuff is going to happen in under 10 milliseconds versus taking up way more than that. And then there's some other stuff that you might not have, which is, okay, since I did my own activity, I used some of the newer Android 16 features, which were registering input device listeners. And this is how, like, in the middle of the game, if you turn on the controller, it gets detected. Rather than, at first we had this bug where if you plugged in your controller after the game started, you didn't get any input, and this way you do.
Okay.
And so it has a nice handler to handle that. And then that gives us a connect and a disconnect controller event, and we can handle and notify Unity when those happen. So that in your game you can say, oh, controller 2 popped out.
Cool.
And then there's some newer stuff that's coming. I haven't updated this to the ODK1 jar yet, but it seems now that we can trap the system button when they press the system button. So in the new update, if you double tap the system button, it'll exit out to the dashboard. But if you just press it 1, we can trap that and then pop up like an in-game pause menu or something.
Okay. That's very enlightening.
Let's see, there's some other stuff I'm handling with the purchase interface. But since everything's going towards, it's like marching towards the release date, I'll have to figure out what the changes are and figure out some way to test it. Because, okay, so there's a production type purchase IAP thing, and we're going to need some sort of test IAP so you can test your products before they're live. You know, I mean, all games have a production and a test environment, right? And it would make sense that we'd have something similar.
Well, it's not when you do it on iOS, like purchasing and stuff. It's not exactly an easy process. So if you find a way to get purchasing on OUYA as an easy process, then it just makes life a lot easier. I don't know about Android so much.
Right, and I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for you guys. That kind of goes into.
That's very appreciated.
Sure. So somewhere, and actually, it's probably easier to just show in the docs. Let's see. Okay, I got your message. Sorry, I should have notified you. I thought I sent emails, but maybe you're not registered on the thing. Okay, so I have.
Hey there, Tim. No worries. Thank you very much for finding my email eventually. And good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right. I'm looking for the link that I send to everybody. Where would I find such a link? Same place. Okay. Maybe in my sent email, because that's what I've been sending. Here we go. Jeez. Okay, so when you subscribe for updates, I send you a link to this page. And basically, you have the PDF document for basically the updated documentation for right now. You have a link for the developer videos. Okay, you have a link for the developer videos, which includes like all the previous Hangouts that we've been doing, including these are now in HD, so you'll be able to read the text after if you weren't able to see it during the Hangout, which is another reason why I need to keep these down to an hour, because it takes a while to edit all that. Then we have the videos for the introduction to the SDK, so like how to import the OUYA Unity package, which you've already done. Setting up the identifier for the first time, like changing your application name, how you connect the Android debugger to your OUYA game while it's running on the OUYA. You can also connect the profiler. And then we had like a lot of stuff we created as we were going. So the handle buttons interface, like intro to the purchase system. So on the Java side, I showed kind of like how the IAP sample app works, and then how we intend to port that into our Unity examples. And I did this big intro into the native plugin, how that works. A lot of controller stuff, because that was a big deal for the Create contest. Everybody was asking about controller stuff, so we did a lot of videos during that. While I was making movies, I made a video about making movies. How to do a slideshow for your game. And then a video about how to do HD capture from your OUYA. This one's kind of popular, how to pair your controllers, because every once in a while you need to know how to pair it. More about so setting up the controller inputs for when it works in Unity, and now that's kind of already part of the package. So right now in Unity itself, the OUYA controller will work in the Unity editor, in the Xbox controller, and a PS2 controller, and PS3. So now you don't have to, it's all out of the box. More IIP stuff, little video about merging scenes, little intro about integrated SVN, into Unity. And then a series about setting up a character controller. So that was one of the it's the multiple character controller that's in the documentation. Controller stuff, controller, and then more Hangouts about setting up your controller.
Mm-hmm.
So after we have the JNI set up, it'll be the controller stuff we'll talk about for the last time. Okay. So then I have some direct links to the forums for scheduling this Hangout. The facts section there. That covers a lot of common stuff. Minor updates where I post updates to this. But if you subscribed with this top link, you're going to get emails every time there's an update. And then here's the latest version. So you have the core files. I've added something that I call the starter kit, which is including more and more stuff. But basically, it's the scene you should go with for how you have the OUYA game object in your main scene, and then it has transitions to a splash screen, and then from that it goes into a main menu, and then it goes into a game scene. So it's something that everybody has to set up, and it's just an example project for the common setup that everybody has to do for a new game. And then I've got a couple of evals for people. March 8th, it's expired, so I could add another eval. Everybody's interested in integrated SVN in their Unity editor, or an easy way to export to Visual Studio, even if you're on a Mac. And then I have previous versions of the ODK, which you always want to be on the latest. There's some useful things in the asset store. And then followed by the change logs for each of the different versions that you've been seeing. So this is so that I can get to the PDF. So here's the updated documentation. And it opens right to where I was thinking about going. Amazing. Okay, so in the next version of that's going to come out of this package, I thought about adding a list of purchasables to the OUYA game object so that you don't have to hard code the products that you've created. You know, because has anybody tried to submit their game to the OUYA store yet?
Not yet.
All right. Well, you do that in the developer portal, and then you that's where you create some kind of ID for your purchasable, and those IDs are what you type in here. And by default, I have the sample purchases.
It's not that dissimilar to Apple. That's very similar.
Well, that's good.
Yay!
All right. So when it comes to implementing your purchase interface, I added some easy listeners that you just add to your game logic. We use show products as our show product example of how to show in-app purchases in your game. And the pause listeners are just there to handle, like, if somebody exits your game in the middle of a purchase or something, you have some listeners to handle that, as well as turning off your game music or reinitializing the scene when they go back into the game. And then the new thing is these new get product listener, purchase listener, and get receipts listener. So these are easy interfaces that you can create on your game logic to handle the purchases without having to worry about anything on the Java side. So basically, you add that little stub, you register the events and your awake and destroy events, and then you just have to implement a small set of functions, and then that gives you in-app purchasing. So you have the get products is what you use to get this list of products. So you'll get like when you call that, it'll get the latest price. You'll get the name, description, SKU, and that kind of thing.
Hey everybody.
Hey.
Okay. All right. So getting products, we'll get the details for your product, and then the purchase listener will get the result of doing a purchase using the purchase polls that we have, and that's kind of down below. So once you have these events set up, there's actually requests in the product list, which I probably won't expose. You can just enter it. You just call like OUYA request products, and it'll use what you specified in your game object by default. And then there's when you actually want to do an in-app purchase. There's an API for that, and depending on whether that succeeds or fails, it's going to call the purchase event for on success or on failure. One thing about these stubbed out events here is that the parameters are going to change depending on as I fill that out. And then after you have a purchase, you have a way to get receipts to see if somebody bought my game, should I unlock those levels, that kind of thing. And so there'll be a similar SDK get purchases call that you can make, and then you'll have a success or failure event to see if they've purchased their game SKUs. So the purchase post that you specified in the OUYA game object. So hopefully this is like very little code. You don't have to write any Java, and you can add in-app purchasing pretty easy. All right, well that's the purchase stuff.
I got a question on that. Sorry, if I'm using the Unity player activity in the OUYA Unity application, does that block out this code as well, or is that
No.
part of a
It shouldn't block out. That stuff will only do like the input stuff. You're still going to have to customize the Java with the latest updates though, so that it passes these calls along.
Okay. That's good.
Although by the time you need that, I'll have it integrated and all working, and then you won't need to use that alternative thing.
Oh, cool. Do you know, do OUYA have different types of purchases like Apple, like a consumable or non-consumable and all that kind of stuff? Or is it just like a purchase, a money exchange, and a result?
Right. That's part of the developer portal. So you specify the type of purchase when you create the purchasable ID.
I'll go and have a look when I get time. Cool.
And actually, maybe I should fire up my OUYA at this point and see like the new stuff.
Has there been a new? Oh, of course there has, isn't it? I need to update it. Yeah.
Oh, my game progress. Hold on a second. Just playing some game on there. Okay. Oh, I was doing that, huh? Cool. Oh, here's the controller thing. One of the controller things that changed in the latest update is I need to double press the system button to to go back to the thing. And there's a little bit of lag in the recording thing. Just turn on my TV so I see it. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so on the new update, everything's in the play section. I don't know if I like this. I like the categories from before, so you can find stuff, but I'm sure they're going to have different categories for. It's probably still in progress. There's a new Discover section. Okay, I think Discover is going to be the new store. Make. Okay.
Nice. 3D is broken.
Yeah, I was staring at that. What does that mean?
What the hell?
I think they mean stereo 3D.
Yeah, because I'm running 3D stuff, okay. Okay, so software is still the catch-all. But I'm betting that this is going to change the intents. So you guys have all had intents to say, okay, it's either in games or app, the ouya.tv. Whatever .games and apps. So we'll have to watch this closely so that we have a. I could probably put a drop down in the OUYA panel to pick like what area it shows up. And then this is something you specify like as you're publishing to the store. You tell it what categories it's going to show up in. And manage.
Where did notifications come from? I thought, wasn't there something about OUYA's never going to have notifications or something?
I don't know. Builds. Is that what I'm looking for? Oh, interesting. Well, I'm gonna have to try that. So, I guess that means if you submit content to the store, you're gonna have access to a build section where you can see the builds that you've uploaded.
Cool.
So, and then you saw the news that you want to get your game in the store by the end of this month so that they promote it for 6 weeks. Something like that.
Aren't they measuring
Yeah, I'm
us
wondering how
for
many people are going
6
to do
weeks?
that.
Yeah, aren't they like measuring us for 6 weeks, and then the top 3 they're going to make even more, fabulously famous or something?
Yeah. That's going to be some crazy PR, but the top 3, I mean, how many games will there be? I'm curious.
I don't know, there's some.
Ooh, can I get an indie high five from somebody? I just got my game up to 60 frames a second again.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Ah, hallelujah.
All right.
Don't enable shadows. That was dumb.
Yeah. That's a big
Do
one,
not
right?
enable shadows. Yeah. Right.
I saw some video of the OUYA folks doing a conference in Austin, Texas, where they had this going in the background, and whoever had the top score got a free OUYA. So you gotta practice your stag skill.
And you are bombing.
Nah, the highest score at that contest was like you had to get up to 400 or something. So
Well,
apparently, I won't be getting a free OUYA.
too bad.
I do love the pixel art lava explosions in the foreground, though, at the bottom. That is just beautiful.
35.
Little blobs, in the foreground going boink, splosh. Cute.
Okay, so you were saying 60 frames a second. Do you have any tips for people on how to achieve such fantastic frame rates? Did you have to take everything out of the scene, or you just put one thing?
Funny question, that. Guess who just disabled, one thing after another thing after another thing, and it's like, oh, what do you know? Shadows, 30 frames a second, bingo, up to 60. So, yeah, right. Mental note: don't enable shadows.
Yeah.
What's the fastest way of doing? I'm an indie, so I don't have pro, but I was using blob shadows, the projectors, and I only had 6. 1, 2.
Oh, you didn't even have real-time shadows?
Nope.
Okay.
So just simple projectors.
Blob shadows.
You always just use a decal for that, a simple plane, and put the blob on there. Depends on how uneven your terrain is.
Yeah, it is. It is actually uneven. So yeah, probably.
Okay.
Oh, that's nice. How many? Is this fully controllable? Multiple? I see lots of C players. Right.
Yeah, I think they're C for computers.
Yeah. I was just wondering how many.
I think it's a 4-player game. I think I saw that in the contest videos.
Cool.
I need to update though. I can't kill anybody. I must have an old build.
Oh, did you guys see Bomber Mine?
I've been playing a bomber game.
Yeah, the Bomberman online game. That one. Yeah.
Is that the one that has 1,000 people?
100 players per server. Yeah, that's really fun.
End of the call. Everybody on there. We'll make a quick clan. we'll whoop some ass.
Yeah, take down those iOS guys.
Yeah. Team OUYA, come to kick ass. Unity OUYA, I don't know.
If anyone's interested in shadows, there's an asset store thing called Shadow Volumes Toolkit. I was like €15, because originally, so I've got Pro, and I put shadows on for a lot of the iPad stuff, and it's not a problem. And so we put it on the OUYA, but they don't actually come up at all, like the normal sort of the normal real-time shadows.
Yeah, it's not squished on Android.
But this Shadow Volumes Toolkit is called. You assign which objects you want to assign. So we've got light maps for the scene we're in, and then we've lined this light up to work with the moving objects, and it seems to push around a lot of objects with shadows on, and it seems to be just casting a mesh onto things, and it works pretty well. I mean, it can be a bit flaky at points, but you mentioned blob shadows. I used them before, but they, for one little blob shadow, it has to re-render the entire mesh that it's sitting on. So if you've got like a big world or something, it'll basically be rendering the scene twice for every shadow.
I saw the increase in draw calls and was a bit suspicious about that. Yeah, okay. Is this Gaz speaking?
Yeah, Gaz.
Brilliant.
But this Shadow Volumes Toolkit on the Asset Store is definitely worth having a look. And it's some of these things, it's €15 or something. They're actually pretty inexpensive, I suppose. But I definitely highly recommend that. We're using it in our games at the moment. Yeah.
And is it okay to ask a couple of questions? Just, you sound like you know at least a little bit about it. I vaguely recall looking at it once before. It's a it produces accurate shadows, right? As in shaped to the mesh. And how expensive did you find that? I mean, you said it
Well,
pushes a lot around. No extra draw.
I think it's one extra draw call because it's putting it into one mesh, but I think it splits it into various. So the more shadows you use, the more draw calls it adds. But I think it's just making one draw call for all of them, and then rendering them in. I don't know what the terminology is, a stack or something. But it's
and
just.
I think, yeah, go on. Sorry.
So I think it's just when you look at it in the editor, you can see all the cast lines. And so I was thinking, when I first saw that, I thought, well, that's never going to run. You know, that's going to be it's never going to be able to do all that stuff. But it does. So I don't really know exactly how it works, but it seems to be just casting objects onto the floor that's next to it. And if I'd have gone out and written something like that, it probably wouldn't have worked. But however this guy's done that, it just seems to work incredibly well. So we've got a scene with like several characters walking around with shadows on them, and a bunch of movable boxes and cars were also using that shadow render and running on the OUYA. So it must be like about, I don't know, we must be on about 30, 40 objects, but our objects range from like maybe only 600 triangles to like, you know, maybe the characters no more than 1,000 triangles anyway. So we have a lot of stuff, a lot of independent stuff that we've got this shadows assigned to. But it doesn't seem to have, you know, when I turn it off, it doesn't seem to have a massive, forget the word, overness.
Overhead.
Thank you. Yeah, overhead. Yeah.
Are you in the UK as well?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm in the UK too.
Yeah, it's not as late as they have run these things previously. This is quite nice. Kind of civilized. Yeah. 11:30.
Yeah.
So what are the shapes of the shadows below? Like, are they all like squares, or do they kind of mimic?
No, they cast the whole thing. So I've got a character, and it's just, you know, just moving with him. You know, we've got a ragdoll basically, and you know, wherever he moves, it's just casting the mesh. I don't know if it's duplicate. It creates the mesh. It doesn't create the mesh on the fly. It creates the mesh in the editor. So there's an editor script that they give you, and you select a game object, and then you've got shadow volumes toolkit, and you bring up the quick shadow setup, and then you press that, and it adds a game object to every mesh that you're using, which you can just delete from it if you want to disable it, which is pretty good. And then of course,
so it's not animated shadows then.
Well, they animate in the sense that if my character's running, they're moving with him and animating.
It's parented, so, but not like if you have a arm movement, whatever. But still, it's good enough to achieve the effect. And if you blur it, who knows what it is?
But the weird thing
posted
is
the link in the IM client, by the way.
Yeah, the weird thing is it casts. You know, I mean, it can cast onto itself really efficiently. So. You know, I generally if I say I've got this frog running around, I would in Unity I would have turned casting shadows off onto himself and just only onto the floor or something. But with this one, it's casting shadows onto himself and the floor, and it looks really good, and it's cheaper than using normal Unity real-time shadows. If that makes sense, even you know, hard edged ones. Yeah, I guess it's you should play around with it in your game and see if it fits, because our stuff is, you know, very low poly, so so it's working great for us. But if you've got like a character that's like got, you know, a few thousand polygons in it, like 4,000 or something, you might find it's not going to have the same effect as it is for us. But ours is lots of little low poly objects with physics on them. So yeah. Yeah,
man, the demo video, the demo web player for that on that link I just posted, which is the first hit on the dynamic shadow toolkit thing, has some other lovely little plugins that they've published, including a shatter one, which is so going into my game now. Oh, don't you hate it when you find something you're like, man, I'm going to have to use that?
The asset store's amazing.
Oh,
I mean,
that's gorgeous.
I wish I had an unlimited budget. I'd just buy everything, you know.
Well, I don't know about that. There's a lot of rubbish out there too.
Yeah, it can just, well, if you could just get through it, even if the ones you don't like, you just get rid of them, can't you? It's the time it saves. I think it becomes worth it. You know?
Yeah.
I don't want to build everything myself anymore.
Yeah, well, Eve and myself were discussing this one. Both of us are like, I think I went out of my way to save myself $3 from, for a football texture from some freebie football texture, kind of website. And it only took 4 hours. I mean, how good is saving us that? Maybe not.
Yeah, depends.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. That is a fantastic recommendation. I'll definitely, and it works onto. See, this is the thing. I'm just watching their demos and things. How is it onto curved floor surfaces? That's okay, is it?
I'm not really using.
Like there's a screenshot in the preview with Terrain, so it seems to work.
Yeah. Okay. Groovy. Thank you very much.
So do we have a update we can try with the snowman?
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. I'm just going to go back through and re-enable everything, and then we'll see that it still works. The whole thing's put. You know how it is, guys. You build your game and you try to make everything nice and modular, and well OO and all these sorts of things. And then you find a problem and you start disabling things. And it seems to still work, but who knows?
Okay, this shadow thing looks pretty good. Like
good, yeah.
I wonder if it baked it into the light map or something. I don't even know if it's using a light map or how it works, because it's with the regular lights.
There's a game object that's in the scene called Shadow Volume Renderer, and then that's got like a bunch of weird materials on it. So I think it's doing it with that, and then one mesh, a quad mesh, and then all the other shadow casters are sitting within the game objects that are being used, but they don't contain a mesh, and that's how it keeps it down to the one draw call. A bit like a sprite engine, I imagine, but with a clever shader on it.
Yeah.
Download it, have a look, and try and figure it out, because that's the fun of it, isn't it? But downloading it, and then I don't have to worry about what it's doing.
Yeah, anyway. I mean, it looks awesome.
I did read something in his. I can't remember. I think it might have been the document, the website for the particular plugin. He said he'd implemented something out of a well-known shadow volumetric shadow rendering package or whatever, and it's like, oh wow, really? So if you can't figure it out by reverse engineering the code, you could have saved yourself a whole lot of time by going and reading the paper.
You can't copy and paste the paper.
Yeah, I wish I knew that when I started working on a rigid body physics engine many years ago, off the back of what is it? The convex polyhedra, rigid body paper, whatever it was that I read, and it's like, yeah, this sounds great. I ought to be able to do this. 3 years working in Java, and what did I end up with? It kind of worked-ish. Was it using PhysX, NVIDIA kind of stuff? No. Had that just come along during the meantime? Yes. Did I feel a fool? Yes.
All right, right there, it shows it works fine on an animated character.
Sure.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Well, shout out to this guy.
It's a point light as well. Awesome.
Does it really say draw calls 109? Is it just me, or is that like quite
That's
a large number?
109. Yeah.
100?
But I mean, you can get away with about 250 though. But that's pretty high for 3 objects.
the OUYA is not really draw call bound, right? So what we've found is that the OUYA is really fill rate bound, so reducing the resolution, and even we try to render everything into a quad, which is even smaller than the 720p, and it runs even faster then. So I think draw calls aren't really the problem with the OUYA.
Okay, fantastic.
It's really how many pixels it has to paint to.
So can I, in explanation for the other attendees, Tim knows this already. I'm a long-time developer, but I'm quite a recent Unity C# guy. So forgive me if this is a dumb question. You're very welcome to say, Rupert, go away and learn, how to program C# or something. That's totally cool. If you've got Java questions, I'm great, but C#, Unity, I'm only a beginner. So you mentioned render to a texture. Am I correct in thinking that's only available with Pro?
That's a Pro feature, yes.
I thought so. And so the second part of this question, my last one, trust me, for the next 5 or 10 seconds, is...
Don't worry.
is I was playing around with shaders. Am I correct in thinking that the only way to get a shader to modify a texture is using a render texture?
No.
No.
No. Any shader has access to the RGB channels. You just write a fragment shader, and then you can pass in anything you want. So,
but do you just want to render, or do you actually want to change the texture?
I want to modify that. Basically, I've got. You'll see my game. Basically, I've got a texture which is a bump map, and at the moment, I'm doing the modification of my bump map using C#. It works, but I take a little notch into my frame rate every time I do it. I can see how I could easily do this using shader, but everything I looked at in the documentation seemed to suggest that the only way to make the target of a shader...
I don't think that you can get the texture data back from the GPO, though. So I don't think that will work.
Yeah, that's kind of what I concluded. In other words, you can't do arbitrary programming. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, or you're using render texture, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of...
But you can do certain things, like... so every texture has get pixels on it, and you can extract the pixel data.
Yeah, but that's very expensive.
Right. Well, you don't have to do it all in the same update frame. You could.
Tim, I'll just send you my code, because that's actually what I am doing right now. So
Right.
I do one get pixels. I keep the entire thing in a byte buffer, and then I basically go in there with my own draw operations written in C#. I did say I was a beginner, and modify it, and then I do what is it, set pixels 32, and that works. But as I say, my impression is I can't put I can't effectively get the shader to modify the texture such that I can get the results back out again. Does that make sense?
If only you had like some kind of like painting tutorial or something that kind of shows how to do it dynamically.
Yeah, I'm doing it dynamically. Trust me.
You mean like that?
Yeah, I knew where you were going. I was watching the video at the same time. Yeah. So, but the question, the main question was actually using a shader to do that modification. Does your tutorial show how to do that?
I'm doing it through script to modify it, but again, you can do some shader operations to like, and there's the whole shader lab thing, and you can go to the Unity website and download all the shader source.
Yeah. I've done all that. I've been through all that. I tried making the modifications. I couldn't figure out. I think Oliver's answer is correct. You can't get in Unity. You can't get a shader to modify a texture such that you can get the texture back again. You have to use a render texture to do it. That sounds like the answer. I was going to post it on the Unity answers, but yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Oliver.
Unless you do it on your main camera, I wonder if you can get the pixel value at a certain 2D position, and then just keep extracting it from your main camera as you're looking at it.
Okay, that answer I didn't understand. If that sounds like a reasonable answer to anybody else, then I'm happy to hear more of that. If it's just dull for everybody else, then I don't want to waste everybody's time. It was more of a kind of validation thing,
Right. Okay, so you'd have to check the Unity API, but I wonder if there's a way without a render texture to get the value of a pixel on screen.
No, there's not. That's why there's the render texture, and that's why it's a pro feature. And, they want you to pay for it.
Yeah. Not unreasonably, There's got to be some reasons.
Well, they have to earn their money as well. They're
Absolutely.
giving it a lot.
Yeah, totally. I'm loving it. It's all good, Productivity, brilliant, having to suffer with a few limitations because I'm a cheapskate, as yet. That's fine. I understand that. So, thanks very much, guys.
No problem. So, Tim, I was digging a little bit into your input code because I was trying to reduce the CPU hit on that, and actually it wasn't quite hard to. So you're sending on the on generic motion event and on key down, on key up, you're sending all the complete JSON data, right?
Yep.
And that's really what hits the CPU so hard. So I changed a little bit. I'm not very good at Java, but I changed what I could. So for example, on the on key up and on key down, you really just need two integers to send the key code and the device identifier, and not the whole thing. So I changed it so I only send those two.
Right.
And that really that changed it from 8 milliseconds or 10 milliseconds to almost nothing.
Yeah.
And
like
the same thing for
0 or 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the change I'm going to integrate into.
Yeah. That's and that's fine, but it's still not optimal because the send message that's available in the what is it, the unit.
That's the only way. Yeah, the only way to get stuff over. Yeah.
Yeah, but what it says in the documentation, there's a 1 frame lag, and in a fast game you can actually feel that a little bit. But yeah, for now it's really if you would
one frame, you can notice 1 frame. It's noticeable.
In a fast game, you can feel it. You really it's just you can
it's
just
like
feel
the Jedi.
it. You know,
it's the Force. You can feel it.
Yeah, it's just a tiny bit not as responsive as you want it to be. Yeah.
Okay, so that's an argument for the shared memory approach then.
Yeah.
Because then it would be instantaneous.
Once we published, I'm happy to go and work on it.
That's probably the proper response, but for now, really, if you want to, I'm not sure what the problem with your game is to get the frame rate down. But if you have problems with the CPU, you really should try to reduce the input code a little bit there, because that really, especially the ungeneric motion event, because that's for the sticks and the bumpers, because that's almost called every frame, and parsing all the JSON data takes about 10 milliseconds on the CPU.
Yeah. If in the final video of I make it, just rewind like a little bit, and I kind of went over this part, but basically this whole thing is only for debugging. It was never meant to be the final thing. This is only for new controllers to figure out what their key codes are.
I figured something like that. Yeah.
So the final interface is exactly what you're talking about. Are you using 4 controllers or just 1 controller right now? Because I was hearing that even with the JNI update, like you just did, if you're using all 4 with the OUYA controller, you still might be seeing lag.
I only have 2 to test it on, but yeah. But if you, I uploaded a new APK, so if anyone wants to play. We can play a little online round if you want.
Is that in the store?
No, let me put it on my own server. So
right. Yeah, because I can't get to the store anymore.
Yeah, me neither. No, it's 5.
I want to hack my box and go back to the previous version. Or at least it needs to have like some command that you do to say, okay, now I want to see like the test store.
Sure.
Oh, that's a feature. I'll add it to the panel. It'll have like a little toggle you hit, and then it'll switch between. Okay, so here we go.
Yeah. So I posted in the chat. I posted the exactly. And then I still have to do some more optimizing, but if you're playing 1 or 2 player split screen, it works kind of well right now. We have a very expensive minimap at the moment. We have to reduce that a little bit, and then do a little bit less particles, because they're quite seemingly quite expensive. And also, I'm creating, because we're shooting a lot of lasers, and I instantiate every laser every time, and you get a new one. So I have to get some object pooling in there, so I reuse the old lasers, because instantiate seems to be very expensive as well.
Hey, Oliver, you might want to check this out. Hold on, let me get the link for you.
Yeah, ditto. Object pooling is one of those. I'll come back to that later ones, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really okay. There's we want to be able. We want people to be able to play in 2.5 weeks, and it's not running as well. So yeah, now's the time to get to that.
All right.
I posted
One controller, 60 frames a second. I'm rocking.
Awesome, congrats.
Even with the JSON version of the what's-magic, the input reader. So that's not bad.
All right, so I realized I have multiple Android devices plugged in, so I couldn't just deploy to it. So I'm gonna have to plug my Good Drop tool. So I just take the Sky Arena you just sent me, and I drag and drop it to this box, and it shows up here. And then I can say, okay. It shows me like the details. Oh, this is a 23 megabyte APK, and I can pick which of my plugged-in Android devices it shows up on. So I'll just say, okay, not the wireless one, not the Kindles. I'll have it go to the OUYA, and then I can just say, okay, install and run.
Marco, is that your? You've tried every pool manager on the asset store, and that's the one to use.
No, I wouldn't say I tried every pool manager on the asset store, but I've used this one before, and it's pretty slick. And it's pretty efficient.
So what kind of pools is it maintaining?
Anything you want.
Ping pools.
Yeah, you can have it instantiate any object, and what it does is it has like a certain amount, and then it has a threshold. So if you're shooting something rapidly and it goes over the threshold, it'll actually just instantiate a few extra ones, and then it'll remove those from the pool afterwards, and then it'll continue recycling the pool.
Oh wow, for like laser fire.
Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking.
Projectiles, for anything you want just to be in the scene that you want to be able to reuse.
Yeah, because you'll notice like I've noticed you have a barrel flash where you're firing, and like the lasers come out, and you never actually see it leave the barrel sometimes because you have too many projectiles going on.
Mm-hmm.
And like that might handle it better.
So you want to get an online game going?
Sure.
Just put in anything as the username there. Doesn't really matter. And I'll create a game here.
That's okay, because I can't. Okay. I'll just be a guest, I guess. Oh, maybe I have to click on it. There we go. Oh, you've got the cool the thing. I love this thing.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, exactly. You can just hit A in there, and then
Is that
the
like a
left stick
standard?
you can select. Yeah, perfect. And then with A, with whatever color the button is, you can click.
It's amazing.
Is that a standard thing somebody's published, or where do we get
No,
that
that's I did that for. I'm about to publish that. But
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
just put it in the store. Like, I'll buy one.
awesome.
Yeah,
Well, there's always with stuff like that. Is you're doing the minimal feature set that you need, but if you publish it, then you have to think of all the edge cases and stuff like that. So it needs a little bit more polish, but it's pretty good go. So you probably want to disable the minimap. If you do analog left, you can disable the minimap because that's taking up a little lot of brain time.
It's smoking. It's I don't notice any lag at all.
Perfect. Well, that's what's the thing. It's the lag is really noticeable if you like me, if you play the Windows version a lot, and then you notice a little bit of the lag. And
I like
now
the
you're going to
aesthetic.
die.
Very nice.
Or not. Oh well.
They'll never take me. Oh, the controls are inverted, sort of. It goes to where
Sorry,
you're pointing.
I didn't get that.
It goes to where you're pointing versus I keep trying to do like a inverted when I'm flying.
Oh, you
Inverted on the
can
left.
just press the what's the on your OUYA? Press the U button and then it inverts the Y-axis.
Um, which one?
U. So the Y button is for the...
O button. Invert Y-axis. Okay.
No, O is looping, and U is invert. Y is the next. Yeah, we have to clean that up a little bit. That was all because we had so little time for the create contest, so we just put everything on the button. But we have to make it a little bit cleaner.
Okay, when I hit the Y button, I get the little menu thing that pops up.
Yeah, that's supposed to.
Okay. And then what do I hit?
For the invert, you hit the blue button. The blue U button, whatever.
Oh, I see it. It inverted and I didn't know it. Okay. I'm good to go now. Yeah. It's weird. It's one of those things that becomes intuitive like, when you do it.
It's really personal preference, so everybody has their own taste there. We figured. Because some people complain like you and want it the other way around. Some people just pick it up and find it quite natural. So
yeah,
there's really no way around having a switch.
I had the opposite conversation with Marco earlier today or yesterday or something. It's really like nobody's ever gonna do that.
Well, I'm opposite of you. I'm inverted. I have to when I pull, I have to pull up. Just like if you have the stick in your hand, if you pull towards you, you have to pull up. That's just yeah. That's how it's supposed to be.
It depends on if it's a first-person shooter or one of these.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
That may be true. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Your reflections in the water, are they supposed to be correct reflections?
Right now, no. We were just like you disabling some features for frame rate. So
yeah, no worries. Okay, cool.
They are supposed to be correct in the Windows version, but for the OUYA we probably just go with one color.
Yeah, I was just looking at them, and they're there's one reflection map for the whole thing.
Yeah, it's one frame and never changing, right?
No worries.
That's because we have the render camera on for one frame per default, and then disable it because it's just too much, and nice. And that's the frame that sticks.
It's only because he happened to go over the water a couple of times I noticed, so I think you can get away with it. Maybe you could just do it every 10th frame or something, and just cheat.
The problem is really if we have to figure out to make for single player it's not really that a problem, but if you we have to support everything for 4-player split screen. So,
is there
that's going to be awesome.
Is there anybody in here with me?
I've
been shot at, but I suppose I could use the mini map
right now. So maybe try to get the mini map back. But use I'm not seeing you on the mini map as well. But if you press and hold the Y button, then you can see the leaderboards. So we're both still on the server, supposedly. But I can't see you as well.
I might put the leaderboards on the end of the screen.
That's what I found. Yeah, we have to change all that. And because the OUYA button is going to be the start button, I think in the release, right? So we have to change that as well. Is it is my ship lagging for you as well? So is the multiplayer smooth for you, or?
It's smooth.
It's smooth. Okay, so it's maybe just me just running the stream and don't have the best connection here.
Did you hit a button that let you fly like outside the range? Is that a secret?
What do you mean?
I don't know. It just seemed like you were higher than I could shoot.
No, so there are no developer buttons going on right now. But you can. Did you try the right stick so you can lean and brake and boost and stuff like that?
Oh, okay.
The right stick.
Oh, finite control.
And then you have this cool move. If if you go to the left side and lean to the right side, then you can slide a little bit. So you go forward in the same direction, but you turn on the spot. It's a pro move, but if you're able to use it, it's quite fun. Yeah, and then of course you have the barrel roll on the
you start calling that drifting
as well, so that reduces damage you take.
Oh, you got me finally.
Now you're dead.
Oh, that was actually very good.
So right now we're trying to figure out what we can do to make the March launch, but I'm not sure that we can polish the multiplayer for March good enough. So we'll probably go with a single player demo first, and then roll out the multiplayer later.
Now, what are the rules? Like, can you submit and then still submit patches?
Yeah, they said you can patch your game as many times as you like.
Yeah.
So we just got an email from the team, probably for the finalists for the contest. So I'm asking about what our plans are for releasing in our timeline and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward for their answer and what's going on with that. We'll see.
Awesome. See, I saw you fly way up higher, but maybe it's this barrel roll thing. That's what makes you go up higher.
Maybe, and you can also do the maneuver. Maybe you saw me do if you push the the O button or the A button, you can do the maneuvers, like looping and 180.
So can you shoot somebody while they're looping?
You can, yeah, but with the looping you can go over the highest limit. It's weird because I'm looking the stream at the same time, but it's of course.
You can't keep looking at me because I'm three seconds behind.
Yeah, that's why. So I was thinking, oh, he's behind me, and then on my screen you're in front of him. So.
You got to the end.
Yeah, so it's 10-minute rounds right now.
Oh, okay.
We have multiple maps, but this is the only one working right now because we made some changes to the minimap and stuff like that. So the other maps aren't working right now. And I want to get the bots working. They're working on the Windows version, but they're taking a lot of CPU. So I have to heavily optimize them to get some bots going on the OUYA version.
Yeah, we just set up some cool boss stuff using Playmaker. I don't know if you saw that video I posted, but it came in super handy.
I did, yeah. I saw the beginning of that, but yeah. But Playmaker is you have to pay for that, right? Or is it a free program?
No, it's like $50 or something.
Okay.
They have sales, so it's not too bad.
Yeah.
And it's super handy.
I can imagine. I thought if you can do the state machines, it might clean up a lot of very complicated relationships.
Right. So the way that made it easier to follow is you just set up a bunch of triggers in the scene that tell the bots what to do. So.
Yeah.
And then you have states within it. So like, depending on where the bot goes and depending on where the player is.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to do something like that because right now they're all doing their own AI with raycasting and stuff like that, so that breaks the whole thing.
Oh, raycasting, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can only do like 2 of those.
Yeah, and each drone, so the AI drone, each drone is doing, I think, 4 per frame. So, yeah. Not good for the OUYA.
It's not good even in like a Windows game to do that many raycasts.
I can play really well with 100 drones flying around.
Oh. And you're doing 100 raycasts a second?
400 actually.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
What about doing it in a thread? I guess you'd have to implement your own raycasting thing. But, so part of the OUYA Unity package, it comes with the NDK compiling, and you could do, if it was faster to do it in C++,
Sure.
you could offload your raycasting into...
I think for AI, I don't need them to raycast every frame because you can predict a lot of the movements for this kind of game. So I can implement some kind of AI manager who, dispatches the resources to raycast to different drones. Something like that may be working. So for the AI drones right now, it's just one day's work. Implemented the first version I could think of, and now I have to go ahead and do some perf work on them. Yeah, but hopefully, well, we're thinking some kind of global ranking system. So just like the Star Fox 64 universe map with different planets, and then you can choose which planet you play on, and there are different races in the universe you can play for, and it changes the state of the global the universe war that's going on, stuff like that. So hopefully we can get some sort of persistence in here. Right now we just have you get XP at the end of the game and you can level up, and yeah.
Is there a boost?
We have big plans for the multiplayer, but we have to see if people actually want to play this game first.
Yeah, that's the hard part, right? You finish your game and then it's like you can't get it into the users' hands.
Yeah,
Like
because it doesn't make sense to make the multiplayer right now, because really we have to. The servers are quite expensive, and if we don't know, it's like 100 euros per month per server, and we need probably two, because one for Europe and one for the US, and so we really have to finish the single player first, see if people like it, and then go ahead with the multiplayer, something like that. We'll see.
That's the nice thing about the Elastic Amazon servers is you only have to launch them like as needed, and you can just turn them off, and you can script all that.
Yeah, I have similar servers, but the Amazon servers are not. We tried that, but we found that it's not very good for game servers because they're not really optimized. I don't know. Maybe I did something stupid, but we had some weird lags, random lags, and yeah.
Right, you're dependent on their network latency and whatnot. It might be good enough for a store, but it might not run like.
Yeah, so we're using Cloud Sigma right now. It's a similar service, but it's a bit smaller and it works really well with photon networking. Yeah, but still, it's very expensive to put the first server up, and then once you have the one server going, you can probably get a lot of people on there. But yeah, so the initial costs are very high. Well, we'll see. We're kind of hoping that because all the guys who are getting an OUYA in April are kind of the early adopter type, because they backed the OUYA and stuff like that. So we're trying to position ourselves to cater to those kinds of people a little bit. We're thinking of doing kind of something like a Kickstarter within our game, and I'm not sure if the OUYA folks are up for that.
Well, they came from Kickstarter, so
yeah, hopefully they have they're open-minded about that. Well, I can see they having a problem with having unfinished games, but I'm not sure. We'll see. Hopefully they are open-minded about ideas.
Is that like Pitfall, where it doesn't have an ending? You just play on forever.
Yeah, well, for right now we don't have only the 10-minute timing, but yeah, we're trying to get a lot of content in there. Well, we have to figure out how to make content that's replayable, but not very expensive for us to make, because we're only 3 people working on this. With the minimap, it's working for you, or is it a little? Because right now the minimap is very, very many polygons. I flattened the objects, so it's very wasteful.
Yeah. Did you see they have like a minimap thing in the store? Any idea what that performance
Yeah,
is
but
like?
the problem with all those kind of things is that they're not working with the spherical planet. They're all for 2D maps. I looked at a lot of stuff. So basically everything, the navigation for AI drones and stuff like that, you all have to rethink it for spherical maps.
Yeah, I'd always used just to render texture, and I didn't realize that was a pro feature.
Sure.
I wonder whether there could be a. You said the way you're doing it at the moment was to flatten everything.
Yeah.
But then that's only something you need to do once at the start, right? And then after
Yeah,
that,
no,
it's
we
just...
do it at editor time, so we have a script for that. But the thing is, if you flatten, for example, if you see the mountain Tim is looking at right now, so there are many polygons, of course, to make the mountain look good. But if you flatten everything, you have many polygons just in the center where it's just you don't need them. You don't need only need the outline. So it's just wasteful right now. It's an easy fix, but it's wasteful. So we're trying to get an OBJ exporter in there because we found one on the Unify wiki. So our modeler can then take the created minimap and just optimize it, reduce the vertices and stuff like that.
I was wondering whether you could just, obviously, that might be from the sounds of things you're not a pro user either. Obviously you could just render the entire world, in segments from above and then tessellate them all onto a map, and you're kind of done, aren't you? So I guess if you've got it all as a, max or whatever, you can pre-render that entire thing into basically into a texture and just draw that and then overlay your positions.
I was thinking about that, but the problem always is this is a spherical planet. This is really the bane of all the techniques you're thinking about right now, because I tried different projection maps like they're using for ship navigation, stuff like that, but you always have some weird distortion, and the minimap, if it's you can't really show everything you can to make it look good, because if you want to show everything, you have to lay it out in 2D, and you can't have a one-on-one projection from a sphere in 2D. So you don't have straight lines are not straight on the minimap anymore, and it's weird for gameplay. We had that before, but people were trying to find each other on the minimap, and Okay, so
well, it's actually meaning. When
now
you're
because I'm flying in front of you, but you're shooting in front of me.
Yeah, that should have totally killed you.
Yeah, that's because we have you're in the US, I'm in Europe, we have high ping, so yeah.
All right, so what if
That's why we
minimap? What if you use a second camera? So this is a free feature, I think, where you just turn the depth clearing off, and you can even
that's what we're doing right now. That's what this is.
And then what about like a orthogonal camera instead of
Again, that's what this is, but the problem is just that there are just way too many vertices, because for the camera right now, you zoom out very, very much, so there's just way too many vertices rendered right now, and it's just wasteful.
Right. No.
But you said you did that.
If you reduce the vertex count, then this method is working perfectly.
So you would want to make separate 2D objects for your minimap, and then use the culling flags. So your regular camera doesn't render them, and then your minimap camera only renders the culling maps.
Again, that's exactly what we're doing right now.
Okay, sorry. Doing that, Tim. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So ahead of everything we're thinking of, isn't he? He's like, I've done that. Yeah, that's what we're doing. I did that already, and that was rubbish.
That's always the thing, right? So you come into a problem crash and you think of all the ideas and people who are thinking about it all the time.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear, though, from our point of view. I'm sure you do the same thing. It's like, this is an interesting problem. I wonder whether I can come up with any answers.
Sure.
Play, and it's fun.
Of course.
And you never know. Somebody might come up with something.
That's the thing, right? Just different ideas, brainstorming. It's always helping. Yeah.
So we
It
need
looks
to
fun.
make an.
It looks fun.
Because
Sounds like
I had this. I'm beta testing right now because we're having the split screen game here, and if you think about it, it's very difficult to do split screen audio in Unity because you only can have one audio listener in here. So how are you going to solve that? And the good part is exactly in the time frame when the create counters was happening, a guy posted in the Unity forum forums that he was working on a package for exactly that and was looking for beta testers. And so I applied for that, and it works perfectly. But then I was starting to talk to him and brainstorm a little bit about ideas because he's going the long way around, and I was asking him why. And he basically recoded the whole audio source system to have a virtual audio source, and then so each ship now has a virtual audio source component. And then his script takes all the virtual audio sources, creates real audio sources relative to his real listener, and that's why you can have more than one audio listener because they're just repositioned for the one listener that's existing.
Right.
But yeah, he recoded the whole audio source system, and that was just, because you can't get the roll-off curves via script somehow. So the API is lacking in that. So he couldn't recreate the virtual audio source like that, and then I was just suggesting to duplicate the whole object and just delete everything else, and that worked kind of well. But he hadn't thought of that. So yeah, it's always there's some quirky idea you never think of, stuff like that. But that's an interesting problem to have for audio listeners for a game like this.
Is that still in beta? That audio source thing.
It is.
Do you think he would be interested in any more beta testers? Because I wouldn't mind checking that out. Where was it on the forum?
Probably you can. Let me look up his name in the forums.
Cool.
Don't look at your screen right now. There we go.
Yeah. Go ahead and murder me when I'm not looking at the game.
I'm trying. I can't quite hear you. Oh wait, you just suicided. Yeah.
What was it?
I'm gonna end this broadcast now and then start encoding.